So if you are familiar with my channel at all, you probably already know that I'm a fan of the Nintendo Switch. And I'm not going to go into any of the reasons why. I've done it before, but one of the things that always bugged me about the Switch was Nintendo's choice of Joy-Con colors. And you know, I get why they went with these mismatch colors in the beginning. You know, it's kind of different, it personalizes it, it appeals, I'm sure, more to a younger audience with this neon red and the blue, and then they had the dark blue and the yellow, and there was the orange and the purple, and that's fine. They also had like a basic gray set for somebody that doesn't want something as flashy, but what I wanted was an all black set. I didn't think that was too much to ask, just a basic black set of Joy-Cons, just to make it more monochromatic and simple, and dare I say, more adult themed. And so I went on a hunt for some black Joy-Con shells, and you can buy these already pre-shelled, but they get very, very expensive, usually around $150 on up. So I knew I could do this myself, and I did find some shells from Extreme Rate. So in this video, I'm going to reshell some Joy-Cons in black. I'm also going to give it a different look because obviously I don't want this red and blue grip on there. So I'm going to give it a more dock-friendly black grips to go along with the theme that I got going on. So make sure to stick around to the end for that. And so yeah, let's get to it. So these are the Joy-Cons that I'm going to be reshelling. These came in a lot that I bought on Facebook. It was a whole bunch of Switch stuff in that lot for $100. It was pretty much everything but the Switch. There was like the dock and a bunch of controller accessories. There was 2 quality games. There was Mario Kart Circuit Live, and these were a part of that. Now I sold everything and ended up making $50 on top of what I paid. Plus I got to keep these Joy-Cons. But I knew that these were very loved. You can see here that they're missing the analog rubber caps here, which meant that they were played again very, very vigorously. And in that case, to replace those, you might as well just get all new analog sticks, which is what I did. Also, this button here, the ZR button, does not work, so that's something I got to replace. And the cases are pretty beat up as well. So this was the perfect donor Joy-Cons for this project, and I just didn't want to mess with my 3 good sets when there's nothing cosmetically or mechanically wrong with them. So it just worked out perfectly. I made some money. I had plenty of money left over to buy the accessories that I needed for the swap, and so yeah, that's why I decided to use these. Now obviously this is not going to be a full tutorial. I've sped this process up and cut it down to keep this from being a 2-hour video. Now keep in mind, over the past 3 years, I've bought and sold lots of Nintendo Switches, and many times I come across ones where the Joy-Cons have issues. So while I have opened up many Joy-Cons and replaced various different parts, I've never torn one down completely and done a full reshell. As far as difficulty goes, I'd probably rate this at about a 5, and that number could be higher or lower depending on your skills when it comes to taking apart controllers or handhelds. I wouldn't really consider this particularly hard, just time-consuming and tedious. Now I mentioned in the intro that you could buy these Joy-Cons with these Extreme Rate shells already installed, but they are pricey, starting in the $130 range and going as high as $175 depending on options. Now my total spent was a little over $40, only because in addition to the shells, I also bought a toolkit and some parts. Now if your Joy-Cons are perfectly fine and you already had the tools, you could do this for under $25. Now either way, whether you needed a few parts or not, you're still going to save over $100, and in my opinion that's well worth the 2 hours of sweat equity put in. I also cannot stress enough how important the proper tools are for something like this. I bought a kit from Temu that cost less than $5, and not only did it come with 2 analog sticks, but also the proper tweezers, a spudger, a pick, plus 2 above average screwdrivers, and a couple of metal Joy-Con buckles. All of this on Amazon would have cost 4 times as much, so this kit is highly recommended, and I will leave links if you're interested. Something else important is the tutorial that you decide to use. My advice is to pick someone that you trust, and preferably somebody doing it in real time. That way you'll get an idea of how long it might take you. The tutorial that I used was from Mr. Mario. I will leave a link to that video in the description. But if you'd rather go with another content creator that you trust, that's totally fine too. Just make sure to go slow and work in stages, referring to the video, and then work on a section, then rinse and repeat. And I guarantee everything will turn out fine. Alright, so after 2 hours, I am finally done and I have my Joy-Cons attached to my Switch OLED. And I gotta say, I am very happy with how this turned out. It's very unassuming and more subdued. Definitely kind of laid back, which is the look that I was going for. So here's how it originally looked with the red and the blue Joy-Cons, and now with the black. I think you'd agree that this looks way better, and I really hope that Nintendo carries over a look similar to this in the next iteration of the Nintendo Switch. Alright, so now I just want to briefly go over some pros and cons of these extreme rate shells. So if you were worried about things not fitting properly, having to sand down parts, you don't have to worry about that. These are extremely high quality and they, I would say, are on par with the originals as a one-to-one replacement. Now this soft touch feel that they have on these, that I'm not really sold on. It does feel really good in your hand. It's got kind of a rubbery, kind of a texture to it, almost, I don't really know how to describe it, kind of tacky. That, however, is a fingerprint magnet, and I worry about over time even scratching maybe with your fingernail accidentally and that going into this texture and not being able to be removed. But I reached out to some other manufacturers of black shells and they all said the same thing. They all have this tacky finish, this soft touch or whatever you want to call it. And I don't know why that is. Nobody makes a satin finish like the original Joy-Cons, but again, it does give it much of a lighter black color because of this this matte finish. So it would be nice to have something that was more satiny and darker because black is the look that I want. I don't want something that looks gray in certain lights. But again, this is the only options you have. So overall, it's not that big a deal, and I'm still happy with how they look. Now, one of the things that I mentioned earlier was that I had some black dock-friendly grip options because obviously I wouldn't want to use my red and blue Skull & Co grip with this. It's probably going to look fucking horrid. Yeah, that looks really silly. So let me show you what I got. So these right here are some plastic, I guess, injection molded type of dock-friendly grips that I got off of Temu. These were very inexpensive. They came with some other accessories. I also have these right here. These are some 3D printed ones that I got off eBay. I wouldn't recommend these. They are comfortable, but it's hard to kind of tell here on camera, but these are not the best 3D printed things that I've ever received. Probably some of the worst. They get the job done, but they kind of clip around the Joy-Con there. Not the greatest, but they do work. Then I've also got these, which I showed off in a previous video. I got these off Etsy. The only problem with these is they do kind of hide a lot of the Joy-Con itself, and you know, I did all that work, so I really don't want a lot of that being hidden. But they do have a lot of grip there, and they will work just fine. All right, so let me just show you how these right here work. All right, so as you can see with these attached, it definitely resembles a Steam Deck, a lot more, but it's very comfortable. And what this allows this to do is to slide right in there, and you can see we got our power. There's nothing back here to keep this thing from being dockable. Now, one of the other cool things about having these, I guess you call them dock-friendly grips, is this piece right here. Now this is something very small and compact that I can keep in my Switch case. Originally this was an official Joy-Con charging grip. It's very similar to the one that comes packaged with your Switch. The exception is that this one actually has a charge port. So I went through the trouble of removing a lot of screws and then removing this piece, and this is really all I need because I already have grips on my Joy-Con. So with this attached, you have a really nice alternative to a Pro Controller that is something that you don't have to lug around your Pro Controller at all. And if you want to play in tabletop mode, there you go. Another cool option is attaching these to this vertical mode grip and playing games in Tate mode. This is one of the things that makes this Switch so unique. It's like the Swiss Army knife of handhelds, and people always want to write it off as being this underpowered toy geared towards kids only, and that couldn't be further from the truth. And let's address the elephant in the room. So I'm sure you're probably thinking, Pat, you made this look like a Steam Deck, so why not just buy one? Well, I've been over this before, but honestly, I just don't need it. I'm not a PC guy, and frankly, a lot of the games that I play are all Nintendo IPs. For instance, Metroid and Pac-Man 99, which is a Switch exclusive that I think is a reason to own a Switch. And a lot of the indie games that are on the Steam Deck are also available on the Switch. And yeah, I could download a Switch emulator and probably play most of these games on a Steam Deck, but I would much rather do it on original hardware where I'm going to have a much better experience. And I'm not knocking the Steam Deck by no means in any way. It's an amazing piece of tech, but it's just not for me. All right, guys, that's going to do it for this video. I hope you enjoyed this look at my blacked out Nintendo Switch OLED, and hopefully it will inspire you to customize your Switch. Trust me, it's really not that difficult. And as always, if you enjoyed the video or you learned something, make sure to hit that thumbs up on the way out and leave me a comment. Let me know what you think of this black versus the red and the blue. All right, thanks for watching, guys. I'll catch you on the next one.